Whew. Hey guys, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome back to evercrisis. There's definitely a crisis going on between a lot of players, a lot of people talking about this banner bug that if you guys were awake early, you got compensated if you ended up polling, and now that compensation is no longer there. Compensation feels more like a gift than a refund or, again, compensation. There's a lot of back and forth when it comes to this, so I'm going to talk about my opinion, how I think they should move forward with this, how I think they should handle this later on, and just what the overall issue is. So let's jump in and let's look at that notice. So if you guys were awake last night, if you were polling, I wasn't streaming, so we didn't really get to talk about this banner. I just did my video and I went to bed. And when we woke up, we found this at 5:50 a.m. PDT, which is 8:50 in the morning for me. There was an issue with Aerith and Matt's banner. And they talk about what the issue is, and they're sending out apology distribution was completed. So if you try to do the polls now, you won't get compensated for it. So don't go out of your way to pull a bunch and thinking, okay, where's my rewards? Because they clearly say here that it was taken care of as soon as this notice was posted. So anything after this is the cutoff. Now, what was the issue? The issue is that when people were polling and they went past the first page, on the second page, there was an issue selecting the gear. And a lot of people thought like, okay, maybe they just changed it, but it ended up being a bug. And because they couldn't get what they were trying to pull towards, everything on page 2 pretty much got compensated or refunded. More than refunded. I'll talk about that in a second. But on the first page here, you get to select what your first weapon is and your first armor. And then on the second page, you can select the other armor. And if I try to come over here and change things, there ends up being an error code, and that's how they're currently fixing it, so you can't change the second page. So they ended up giving people, anyone that pulled past the first page, every single stamp that is on that, you got 3,000 gems for. So there's a little bit of issue there that like the stamp system doesn't equal you spent 3,000 per stamp, because you could roll 6 stamps, and anyone on the second page rolled 6 stamps, they ended up getting that refund of what, 18,000 just for polling once with 3,000, right? But that's the idea. The idea is that there was an issue on the second page. Once they're done the first page, any one that you pulled from that point on was 3,000 gems back. So if you pulled the first page and you went all the way down to the 6, you get a total of 18,000 gems, which is huge, right? And if you pulled the entire second page to get the other armor, you got a total of 36,000 gems. So the biggest people that got affected by this are the people who spend money on the game already, where they would get double rewards because they're paying. They're most likely on page like infinite because they're trying to max out their entire setup. So to them, it's just a nice way to like, hey, we supported the game. There was an issue. I didn't get what I needed during the poll. And then they compensated them. Any free-to-play players that were lucky, that saved up, or just even just not free-to-play, like you bought a battle pass here and there, but you pulled on this banner, you got super lucky, went further in, you got compensated as well because you were also part of that issue. And that's usually how these things are handled. If you were affected by something, you get compensated for it. If you walked into McDonald's, a restaurant, and your food was bad, you would get your order refunded, right? And most likely you get to keep the meal or a new meal while you paid nothing for it, right? So these type of things, when it comes to any kind of business, including gachas, retail stores, any kind of store you think about, whoever is affected is the ones that get that compensation, and that's how it should be. So I do agree that if you weren't here, you weren't here, period, right? The only problem is, and again, this is just explaining the gacha, explaining what's going on, explaining about the bug and how everyone got compensated for it. This part is more of, do I think they should have done this differently? Am I against what they did? No, not at all, right? Because yeah, sure, it sucks to see your buddy over there who got like a bunch of gems and free double costumes. Because I have people in my Discord who pulled 12 times and then only pulled one more time, and they ended up getting both costumes. And they got refunded for that 3,000. So they went past the 12 and they went to the 13 slot, this slot right here. They only spent 3,000, got that 3,000 back, and they got the armor. So it does suck seeing that, but they were affected by it, which makes sense. But what was the issue could have been fixed and then been like, sorry, the banner had an issue, we fixed it. Here's the armor. You know what I mean? Here's 3,000 gems, something like that, versus here's a bunch, depending on everyone's luck. Even though everyone didn't spend the same, everyone gets this big reward, and everyone that wasn't here, you don't get anything. Which don't want to sound like someone like, oh, I deserve this. Oh, they got it. I should have it too. No, that's not the way to think about it. But when it comes to a game that has leaderboards, a game that has content that's going to be released, how are they going to look at it as a company being like, hey, so now these players who did pull and got refunded, they now double dipped into another banner because now they got their gems back. And now there are abilities on their weapons, multiple copies, their strength level is super high compared to what we're going to be pumping out, right? Are they going to raise the difficulty because of that? When it comes to leaderboards, like the macro reactor we just did, what happens when all these players who did get compensated, right, end up having these R abilities that are gigantic, and it makes or break a lot of builds, by the way. If you have like maxed out lightning, maxed out a physical attack, magical attack, stances, whatever it is, if your weapon has multiple copies, those R abilities become gigantic, they go in sub slots, and that is the big difference when it comes to between these scorings, right? So this does put a big gap in the community. So when you look at it as a gacha point of view versus I went into a restaurant, my steak wasn't cooked properly, it was very unappealing, they give you a new one, they refund you, you have a good meal, you walk away, nobody else in the restaurant is affected because it doesn't go like, competition time, my steak's better than yours, right? No one cares. Everyone's eating their dinner, they're all good. But this does have that aspect because it is a gacha game. There is a gap between players no matter what because it is a gacha game. But this really, really widens that gap, especially when it comes to the stamp system not being refunded what the player spent, but how lucky the player was or if they woke up, right? Now those future leaderboards, future content, it's going to be pretty diverse. Not by a lot. And I give it like a week and this is all going to be blown over, right? People are going to end up maybe not playing. People are going to end up being very angry for the week and there's going to be a lot of back and forth. But at the end of the day, I'm going to continue playing and I'm not going to be affected by this, right? Oh man, it sucks not getting all this stuff for free because technically a lot of it is for free when you put in the stamp luck system, right? But at the same time, I wasn't going to pull, or if I was going to pull, I still was going to do my pulls, right? Just now other people have extra luck, if you want to look at it that way. So I see both sides of the argument. I do see, yes, if you were there, you should be the only ones being compensated. And I also see the side where like now there's just that big gap and I think everyone should have been available for this. It is a bug. It is exploiting something, but there is so many issues in this game that this is one of those, just like other gachas I played, they would leave that compensation open for 24 hours for everyone. And then everyone who chooses or were going to choose to pull in this banner now have the same advantage everyone else did. So I do see both sides of the argument. Is it fine with what they did? Yes. Could they have done it better? Yes. Overall right now, just maybe spending out like a free pull, a 10 ticket pull, 20 ticket pull on this banner, or just gems to pull on this banner, or giving everyone a choice of either Aerith or Matt's costume would be pretty cool too. Something, right? I'm not saying it has to be any of those, but something to acknowledge that we were all in this game, we're all playing it, and just because we weren't there during it doesn't mean that it's not going to affect us as an overall community, especially with all the issues we've been having in this game constantly. If you look at half of the notices, it's all issue after issue after issue. So we're always kind of like supporting them, even though there's a lot of things going on. And I love it that they're always addressing what's going on, and it's great. They have great communication, and I don't, again, think that anyone should be abusing this, but this could have been handled differently. Definitely handled differently. Hopefully from this point on, I don't think they're going to make a mistake, because whoever made this mistake is most likely getting scolded right now, maybe replaced, fired. I doubt they're getting fired, but this is something they don't want to do. So they're going to be on top of it. Whatever happened, they're going to be double checking this. And if it does happen, hey, pretty lucky, right? So congrats to everyone that did get all this extra stuff on top of this banner. Realistically, it is something, if you're affected, that should be the only people being affected with a compensation. If you weren't affected, then, you know, better luck next time kind of thing. But I do think because what the setting is, the environment, the gacha, the leaderboards, I do believe this should have been open for 24 hours at least, like I've seen before, or some small compensation for the entire player base for like, thank you for always just being here, even though we're having issues with our game. You know, we appreciate that people have patience, and here's a little bit for someone who wasn't affected. Here's like a free pull. Go have fun, right? I think they could have done that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. In about a week or two, it's going to be blown over. A lot of people are going to think about it. And one way I really think about these gachas is that anyone who starts this game right now, you missed 30 days of a bunch of rewards, campaigns, events, freebies. Does that mean that you shouldn't start the game today because you missed all that? Is that going to make or break your game? No, because eventually you're going to catch up and you're going to be part of the new banners. So it's like, yes, it causes gaps, it causes issues, but at the same time, anyone who starts this game 6 months down the line, 8 months down the line, you're going to end up missing all these things, but that doesn't mean you're going to have a bad account, right? So it's another way of looking at it. Let me know what you think. Really? Let me know. I know there's a big back and forth. It was in my Discord. Everyone's been talking about it since the morning. I was in there having conversations with people. They were showing me they pulled 12, 13 times. They got double rewards, refunds. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I'm like, ooh, there's going to be an argument between the community. And I do think both sides are valid. I just think that these can be handled a little differently. But at this point, I'm rambling. So we're going to end it right there. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Again, one of those things that happened, it is an error. They have been pretty good with fixing the errors, so we'll see how they handle everything from this point on. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll smell you all later.